Alex Answer here. It is a late afternoon podcast, and I'm going to be going another layer down. I associate, going out in nature, coming here out in the San Luis Valley and being alone with clearing my own space. I've been at a point for a while where living in the city and even living without certain things, it seems harder for me now than ever. I don't know what to point it at. And with a greater sensitivity, that comes with a greater sensitivity to all kinds of energies, no matter how much I ground. But I think for myself, I learned some really important things back in Portland. And going back the second time was a means for me to really, in my own heart, as they say, come to a sense of closure with Portland. The expectations that my message be understood, or that I get the acknowledgement that I wanted by closing the door on that world. And in some ways I still struggle. But in the honest attempt to move on, there's a whole process here for me. And, I just happen to be sharing, guess, some pretty personal things going on with me, and I guess some major shifts. And we look at what's going on in the world. We look at the recent supermoon. I've been noticing the trends between the solar flares and societal change within the human civilization and so much more. So I take note, that during this solar maximum, I'm here off the grid, psychologically, ready to go into the winter. And so certain feelings come up, certain emotions, they are coming up. And I'll say certain things come up that aren't really true, but they come up, and then we work through them. Maybe certain thoughts that really aren't truthful thoughts, but they're thoughts in us nonetheless. Kind of like a broken record, like a tape. And we may have certain feelings of loneliness when we go out in nature and we feel like we failed at something, or that maybe we should be somewhere else. When in reality, that's the tape in the mind. Now, I do think that going out in nature for a prolonged period of time is very healthy. I'm also aware that there are people that spend maybe too much time isolated from society that don't seem to have healed from certain wounds that cause them to retreat from society to begin with. I have noticed that. So for me, I'm kind of, I come out here and I tap into my idea space. And I'm going to be doing this podcast series, continuing this podcast series on going out in nature to clear my sight and become stronger again, heal those wounds. And I guess go back out into the world with some sort of a plan, or maybe some sort of a documentary, or some sort of a something, as I acknowledge this as a Vision Quest area. And the subject, obviously, has been the archonic interference on the planet. Last night, briefly listening to a podcast where someone was giving a speech about NASA in the year 2025. He was talking about some alleged plan for some frequency to be turned on by the year 2025 that would be a massive mind control tool, a tool of the Archons, to take the whole human species just like that into this other world. And whether that's true or not, just hearing someone describe that, and not even listen to the full several hours, I had to turn it off after a half hour. We are faced with some terrifying stuff. And I think that this is a good time to go out in nature and just step away from the madness and the Civil War games. And if it means being single for a period of time and not being involved in the world because of all the archonic influence, then so be it. I just think this is a time of prayer and meditation to ask ourselves what we're doing here. So I'll come out in this place and all types of stuff will hit me and memories. And I can sit and go, how and where do I want to go in the depths of my memories in terms of everything I've ever been through? And how everything that I've ever been through has contributed some way in me today, for better or for worse. And am I honest with myself? And am I doing all that I can do to expand my consciousness? Or am I stuck in something because of some trauma, because of some old tape in my head? However it got there, am I being all that I can be? So I go out in nature, as others have gone out in nature, to get away from the signals of others, to get away from the emotions of others, to literally ride the wave internally that is there at times like a storm, and I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that storm that is there. And I'm going to have to sit and deal with this storm that's here. By any means necessary, doing the podcast is a huge part of that for me. That hopefully will allow me during this solar cycle in which I'm feeling the effects. And intending to really shoot forward with my life beyond this point, without developing an attachment to the land that I'm currently on, simply because I'm now blessed with internet. In no way will I psychologically attach myself to a physical place. I will have to adapt to the mobile lifestyle. And at the same time, the mobile lifestyle comes with a great deal of suffering and pain. And I'm having to learn how to manage that. That's why I've had to stop. It's also expensive to drive that RV around. It is horrifying at times what America's becoming. I left the town that I was born into, and I left into the great wide open. So as far as I'm concerned, trying to survive somewhere in the middle of the high desert, thank God I have the internet at the moment. But running around in society today, spending money on gasoline, the amount of gasoline that's required, that is a nightmare. Being lonely in this crazy world, maybe visiting random people that may have reached out on YouTube. And in some cases, there's been good people. In other cases, it's been a mistake. How do I know anymore who to trust? I don't. And at this point, I don't feel that I really, there are very few that I feel that I could, or that I feel that I can. So I guess I take this time very seriously as a time of prayer and meditation to have the knowledge innately within me that I need and the power. Spend this time of peace that really is a gift. That is so far removed from the Portland experience. Parking my old homemade teardrop camper from neighborhood to neighborhood within Portland, Oregon today, a city that many people have moved to. I was operating outside the box of paying rent the last year and playing urban survival. and I went through a lot going through the experience. It was enlightening on a lot of levels. And I think I grew on a lot of levels. Maybe some I know of, maybe some I don't. The experience didn't break me. And so the situation is I've now moved on to something else where I'm independent, I'm on my own, I'm off the grid on a spot that I've found that I'm visiting with internet installed. But this is not a permanent experience for me. I'm still living the nomadic lifestyle. I'm just pausing here in the moment, using the means available to me. And I need to be alone for a period of time to do a long series of these podcasts without anybody interrupting me and without anybody distracting me and without anyone trying to spoil me and without feeling like I'm overstaying my welcome at someone else's residence, on someone else's land, emitting my energy and emitting my frequency. You know, you can't even begin to explain. I can't even begin to explain some experiences that I've had with people, with whatever it is that I emit or transmit or have transmitted through this wireless world where we as humans have our own antennas where we're bouncing signals off each other. I certainly know what it's like to be in an urban environment, be it Portland, be it Dallas, be it others, to walk into a cafe, to walk into a bar, and of all heads turn around and look at you like they are connected in with that Archon hive mind, and they just know that somebody different is in their midst. I got tired of walking by women in Portland and seeing people look like they were afraid of me. It made no sense. The lack of intuition in society that has projected itself to be more intuitive than it actually is. So I find myself here in the San Luis Valley contemplating the fact that I was already here a couple of years ago, went back to the city to experience something after already being out here for 9 months, contemplating the nature of reality and having a little bit of curiosity to see Portland during Solar Maximum, during 2014, to see it during a time where there's more people moving there. And still kind of reflecting on that. And also how fast time flies. The sense of mortality. That sense of knowing that you're halfway there. Well, I'm 35 years old, average, life is 70, some people 75, 80. And just wanting to feel that all the life goals, believing there are life goals, I guess for myself, to warn the world, to present the information in a way or in a format or in a film or in a method that reaches a significant amount of people. Not for my name, but to push forth the information and put forth the very best effort for the greater good of all. To do my work in the world of alternative media, to raise awareness to some core issues. And so it's like we are tasked with delivering the message that we have to deliver. And it's not a matter of one person or a prophecy. There's an unknown countless number of human beings with souls that are here on the earth fulfilling a higher task. They're delivering messages. It's not all the same message, not all the same thing, but they are very significant puzzle pieces. And if we want to slack and maybe sell on the information of that puzzle piece and not actually get it all presented and present it to the public and actually get it out there, then perhaps we're missing out on something that we should be doing. Because one of the most powerful gifts and talents that we have as human beings is the gifts of communication. And there's many ways to communicate a message, to communicate a truth. They can do positive things. So it's almost our responsibility when we have the truth, when we have the knowledge, and we have the ability to deliver it, to share it. That's why at the very least I'm starting out with this podcast series and not focusing on visuals or even editing. I'm just going to share off the top of my head on these subjects to begin with. and then I will begin to return to some other very important subjects. So for the time being, I'm using this time of silence and space, not having roommates, not having other people around me, so I can share my thoughts, record these thoughts, be in my own space, and not have any interference. And to know that any interference that is there is coming from the unseen realms within my own mind or within my own psyche. And this is a good space to actually start to differentiate what is what. You know, I've set out some simple goals for my life that I've just tried to accomplish throughout my life, and I've had different levels of success. You know, I think that a human being or a man should have enough discipline in his life to where he is in control of his emotions, to where he is able to accomplish several things in one single day. Whether it deals with in writing or creating something, building upon something, working on their spiritual body, working on their health, some form of physical fitness, some healthy connection with other human beings. And I have also tried to live my life in a sane manner without other human beings in my life that really have been friends on a deeper level, at least not for some time. So at the very least, I'm using the technology that I have, that I'm blessed to have, to at least communicate these messages with those that are currently listening to my YouTube channel. And so for me, going out in nature is grounding. It's connecting. It's connecting with that inner voice. And in this situation, I'm trying to share more fully what's going on with that inner voice. And going beyond fear of these events in our world, and transhumanism and what's coming. It's I mean, I think it goes without saying most people are terrified. And that I think that we've kind of covered how there is a world that runs potentially parallel to ours, intersecting with ours, takes the energy generated from that fear and uses it as a fuel source. That the Archons have created circumstances in this world, in this realm, in this dimension, problem, reaction, solution. They have created their own renewable fuel source, in many cases through engineered events. And there's no doubt something's going on. I've seen my own concerns verified and re-verified, especially with regards to World War III. There being a war with China and a counter-response that could destroy this country. So I've talked about foreign occupation, and it's like I have these pinch myself moments that this whole Matrix thing is so real. It's freaking me out at times. It's almost overwhelming on the timeline that things are happening. And then I'm having this moment. I'm sharing this knowledge. The message is going into a recorder. It's going out on YouTube. And it's like I'm just living out this experience of doing all that I feel that I can do. And all that I feel that is ultimately important as far as what I'm actually doing. And some people may not see value in it, but it is speaking as simply as it is. It's just maintaining a message on this YouTube channel, which at the moment I feel more determined to do than ever, especially in this environment, seeing that there are aspects of this world that have punished me because of the stuff that I've shared on this channel. In no way am I going to let those forces win. And if that's the case and I've pissed off some forces in this archonic realm, then what does that say about whatever I've been talking about? From a variety of things. And I also, I want to accomplish those life goals, and I want to explain those things that I've tried to explain, but I also want to delve into completely new topics and explore those other aspects of my brain, of my mind, of my consciousness when I'm ready and I'm at that point. It's one thing after another. Or you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to build a foundation. So I'm still building upon my foundation and learning more. And as we learn more, we're capable of learning more. And it's an uphill trajectory. And so there are some valuable things to learn. And I guess for a good chunk of my life, I have always placed value on mind over matter. The ability to breathe and take yourself to a calm state of mind and not be controlled by these world events. So we talked a little bit about meditation. And I think that it is important more now than ever, especially when you have these changes going on with the cosmos, as above, so below, to be able to center and not fall too deeply into addictive habit patterns, to try to redirect the energy towards something positive, and acknowledge that these are times where we're going to feel some emotions that deal with family and deal with love and loss. And learning how to release in a healthy way is a good thing. We don't need to make this conversation complicated. I think that I'm still learning how to release emotions and deal with the complexity of the emotions that are within me. I think that I came out here to further master that, because if one cannot get a hold of that, then their emotions can destroy them. They can destroy their life. They can be controlled by those very entities that they're fighting, that they're aware of. One thing I've learned that if you get really deep into the world of exposing things and you're not fully protected, you can come under full attack on your emotional world and those around you, those that you would want to be in your life romantically. Those things connected to the heart, I have seen those things destroyed before me. And it's possible I've seen those things destroyed beyond this incarnation. It's possible. Some of us have been going through some of the same experiences repeatedly for some reason. So Earth is definitely a testing lab, a very interesting place indeed. As I look at my backdrop, the backdrop around me, it looks very much like something out of Star Wars. As I look at the mesas, as I look at the sagebrush, as I look at the desert, as I look at the horizon, as I look at the sunset, it reminds me of something like Star Wars. And I am so far removed at the moment from ELF or cell phone tower pollution, from sirens, from screaming children, from slamming doors. I don't have to sleep in an environment where I'm hearing barking dogs, where people are racing by past a vehicle I'm sleeping in. People that are probably going home to a place that they can afford to rent. I'm not walking down the street every single day to use a public toilet. I'm not having to go to public Wi-Fi to get on the internet. I don't have to do those things. At present, even though I have to go to town to get water and get food, other than that, I have everything that I need. I do have to get some clothing for winter. This is one of the coldest places in North America. I've never stayed in an RV, heating myself with propane only and wearing clothing, or what they call thermal underwear. Maybe wearing some gloves at night, some extra socks. I'm gonna be applying mind over matter, and like the cold version of the sweat lodge, I'm intending to survive out here this winter on my own, and continue these podcasts discussing my life story, some of my views on what's happening with spiritual warfare, and sharing more than I've ever shared before. And I feel that it's playing a very healing, therapeutic part in where I'm going from here on out. And even though I'm going to lose certain people, by delving into certain areas, I'm also going to reach people that maybe need to hear certain things. For example, and as I speak, I see one of the first vehicles that I've seen in a long time on the opposite side of the property, which is on the other side of the Rio Grande River, which is also BLM land. As I take a deep breath and make note of the fact that this experience that I'm having is a temporary experience. And for whatever reason, throughout my entire life, I've been in a state of moving. And one of the reasons I came out here for the time being is to really heal that aspect of my survival. It's been threatened by constantly being on the go. It's caused a little trauma in me. It's really affected me. And I'd like to believe that, that we can heal ourselves overnight through the right amount of focus and healthy water and meditation and prayer, honest prayer, however we do it. I believe that there is great power in that. And I have asked, whether it be my angels or the Great Spirit, to protect me in my mission, long time ago. And I believe that it has. Every step along the way, I do believe in such a thing as protection and it being removed to just a point where you need to learn a lesson. And I think that the universe I think the world, I think that I have had to learn some lessons based on certain thoughts that I've sent out that maybe were not the most positive. I've seen its return almost at an alarming rate. That's convincing me even more about the power of our thoughts. So this is a place where, whether it be the magnetics or something else that I don't understand, there's something powerful about thoughts that are transmitted here. And there are, obviously, there are energies here in this part of Colorado, for example, that I think are kind of interesting and mystical, but for the most part, people don't want to be here. And I'm not someone that's trying to advertise for a bunch of people to be here. There was a time in which I thought that this would be the perfect place for certain people to visit, and now I've come to accept that that is not exactly the thing to encourage. For people to just come to the San Luis Valley just to come here out of curiosity if they don't feel drawn to. I think that they need to be drawn out here, where they can just find themselves out here by accident. And that's pretty much what happened to me. And so this isn't like some sort of a podcast series promoting coming to the San Luis Valley. Rather, I'm gonna use this podcast series to share the depth of my thoughts on certain topics. Right now, we're dealing with the Archon podcast series, but it also is really about the healing aspect, going back out in nature and healing oneself from those ways of the Archons, the Archon world, and how so many things have been perverted in the world, where some of us have been traumatized and affected to where we may not be truly tapped into who we are. We may not be as powerful as we actually are. We may not be teaching all that we could be teaching. And so being that humanity has been gifted with the power of communication, one day it did hit me. I want to say almost like a vision, but almost like a vision. Pretty much hit me that the main gift of humanity is our gift of communication, to share ideas that can help us break outside this box. So there's obviously a war on higher consciousness. You have a mass media, and you have these ways to control media, control radio, make sure certain messages aren't out there. We can also see in our world how they try to use symbols and through this holographic reality get a certain amount of people through technology, cell phones, instantaneous communication to focus our attention and awareness on certain outcomes, certain fears, certain nightmares, certain tears. They got it all. They seriously got it all in full color. And so these machines are just cranking the stuff out and cranking the stuff out and cranking the stuff out. So mass consciousness, the mass consciousness signal is polluted. It is absolutely polluted. And so in reality, I'm actually not far away enough really from society. I'm really only 20 miles from one town. I am 40 miles from Alamosa, but I'm far enough away from society and cell phone towers for the most part. And I can flip off the internet. So really there's no Wi-Fi on the property. And other than holding this iPhone that I only use as a voice recorder, it doesn't have a cell phone signal. I am spending some time outside of the signal in order to deal with the what is and what is already inside me, and sharing also the knowledge. And with that is almost a healing experience and a release. It feels good. It feels good to actually cross the Rubicon and start talking about things that I've always thought about for years, that I intend to talk about again, but to actually restore the dialogue and start speaking more about these issues. And so the world of the Archons is the world of the cyborgs. It's the world of the inorganic. And that is not a world that is compatible with nature. It is compatible with big cities, though. People being on their cell phones and being in front of computers, and everybody at the coffee shop, on their iPod and on their computer. And, pretty much in the grid, surrounded by smart meter energy. The archonic agenda is to keep mankind in that state of consciousness, make everything easy in the grid, the internet, free Wi-Fi, cheap fast food. Or at least it seems cheaper to people, or in some cases it is cheaper than getting healthier food at the grocery store, or eating healthy in other ways. And so we're seeing major changes within society. As I take a pause here, and I acknowledge that I have not escaped Babylon. I have only temporarily found myself to a corner of Babylon where there are less disturbances around me in order to scratch my head, scratch my chin, and go over the things that make you go, and honestly attempt to share as open-heartedly as I can, holding hope in my heart and my mind for the future, for my future, regardless of how terrifying any potential outcomes may be down the line, be it in a few years or 2025 or other predicted periods of great chaos and war on the planet. Because the signal they're projecting is death, and it is nihilist, and it has no hope. They want to project a message of their success. They don't hide things like CERN. I did want to share with you that I think that there's a certain amount of admission about CERN to get people thinking and fearing that it can happen, to maybe give it a little bit of power. I don't want to sound too new agey. I want to raise the possibility, though, that if somebody's going to do something, why make a big headline about it? Why not just do it? And do it at a random moment when you feel it's going to, and maybe they're already doing that. And they're probably not giving all the information, obviously, about CERN or maybe other programs. But I did want to throw that out there, that by putting the focus on CERN and creating the terror around CERN and a true belief that on September 23rd, 2015, this is going to happen or that is going to happen. There's actually several scenarios, and I'm starting to notice the pattern. I'm starting to notice the pattern of what I've seen before, of periodic panics about every fall, every couple years, relating to a fear of some sort of an end times event. Asteroid striking the Earth seems to be a reoccurring theme. Full-on economic collapse, or some other event that leads to a full-on World War III scenario, which I think is possible. But I think that some years are going to pass before it actually manifests. But we're on our way. We're definitely seeing confirmation of the buildup towards that. The development of the weaponry. The announcements that China will be logistically ready after the 2020s, which is only in a few years away. On every conceivable level. We can go on down the line in the future. And we shall. In a future video. But I do want to reintroduce this idea of nature and going back into oneself, clearing oneself of trauma, using nature for the specific purpose of healing and respecting the energy that's out in nature, and I guess one could say even respecting the spirits that lived in certain areas before we came to visit them. That's kind of how I view the Rio Grande Ranchos in the San Luis Valley, a place where I respect the spirits and those that came before me in this particular region. I notice sometimes when I say that to people, they think it's a little bit odd and strange, and so not everyone's gonna respond with positivity when hearing that statement, or a belief in spirits that came before us, or having respect for them. But it is something that I think about. And as I look at this rooster that has come to the RV for a sense of shelter, water, and food, as I've told this rooster here that everything's going to be okay, it's going to be safe here for now, I can also repeat that back to myself. And even though I'm here temporarily for an unknown period of time, everything is going to be okay. And that I'm doing the right thing. And this is the only thing right now that I am focused and centered on, even though the message is abstract and the video quality is up and down on this YouTube channel. It's being a communicator. It's sharing my truth and looking at my whole life of really centering around communication. And so I'm going to keep communicating, and these podcasts will continue because that is what I was born to do. And this is the place where I will continue the discussion. The radio show doesn't have to be live. It doesn't have to be called a radio show. But the discussion will be kept alive. If I felt drawn to be a electrician, I'd be doing that. Or a lawyer. Or someone that plays games with women. You know, as lonely as one could be in this world, their conscience can be one as such to where they don't want to be a player. But their will can also be so strong to continue on their path that they feel is righteous. Like I feel like I am on a certain path of truth-telling. Their will could be so strong that they're not going to slow down to fulfill maybe the needs and requests that someone may want. You know, maybe to bring someone into someone's life, if you know what I mean. Because I have a strong will and I have a really tight focus at times. I haven't slowed down enough to really smell the flowers and have certain human experiences that other people have had. And whether or not it's been from a curse or whether or not it's been from my own karma, we're not trying hard enough. I kind of have been thrust into a world of moving from place to place, of coming from a broken family and not really having those family aspects to lean on, like a brother or a sister or a mother to call or a father to call. The real relationship is broken with all these individuals for in particular the parents. I am an only child, in ways I'll continue to get into in future podcasts. But what's already been stated is kind of how the very path I've taken with this channel and some of the shows that I've produced and people that I've interviewed. Things seem to happen in this world where you can end up in a sense of exile, to where for whatever reason people don't see your cause as worthy, or it's questionable, or it's seen as dangerous. And, you know, honestly, frankly, bringing this back down to our podcast series theme of the Archons. It seems to be that there's a number of people on this planet that have gone in a certain spiritual direction relating to truth-telling, relating to what's going on with the darker realms, that end up under attack for taking the path that they're on. And they take the risks. They take the risks of something physically bad happening to them. But I don't believe in being paranoid or being overly concerned, although anything can happen and any of us can disappear at any time. Spiritual attacks or being marked and put on a radar or on a different list in terms of the realm of the supernatural, that is absolutely real. And it's taking place right now. And it's something beyond a lot of the sci-fi movies that are coming out. But there are many sci-fi movies that have pretty much addressed this allegory of the Matrix and waking up within the Matrix and becoming targets of the agents of this Matrix as a result, truly because of what we're conscious and capable of, what we're able to do, perhaps what we're able to do with them, perhaps our own ability to create and live in a world without them. I think that I would rather continue to delve into these concepts and think about these things than live in a city being affected by the Archons, turning my focus towards protests and screaming out mayors and screaming through a megaphone and filming police and getting absorbed with the microcosm. For those of you that have watched my channel for a while, you noticed when I was in Portland, most of what I talked about was the things that bothered me in Portland, the things that hurt me in Portland, waking up in my truck in Portland feeling like a prisoner. And you know what? It was great to at least have a camera and share those things, even though most people will not film their home-free experience living in their vehicle, hanging around the city park on Access TV, admitting that people weren't even reaching out to me. But I did it, and I had the balls to do it. And I'm proud of the fact that I can go through the experience, and I will share very detailed experiences because honestly, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of someone whacking me. I don't believe that I'm so important or that I'm sitting on such a great story, especially at this point in my life, that I'm worthy of assassination. I think that the attacks at this point that come through are absolutely most exclusively coming through the spiritual realms. And so when I look at opposition in the physical realm, even though I see judgmental people, I see the attitude in the city, that is the effect of the archonic world, and it's not always anything personal. And sometimes I can be super sensitive. But when it comes to real, genuine attacks, the things that I've dealt with on this planet haven't come in the form of the black van, of the wiretap, of other things. But there's been a little bit. But in the realm of technology and email and anything on the web, that's totally in the realm, in my opinion, of something the Archons can influence. To a point. And at what point, where will we be going in the future with strange things in the internet and mind control? I don't know. But I think that there's things they can influence with social media, with Facebook, with subliminals, with basically tones and frequencies. They can put internet users into a state of trance. Certain people can be targeted if they're trying to disrupt a relationship or a friendship, because Archons just love a breakup. And the breakup song that goes along with that bottle of beer that dude's going to be drinking who just had his heart broken. A lot of what I think about is how sad it is that love is so hard to come by in today's day and age. I think about my own experiences, but I also think about how much I want to go beyond the pain of that. And how I see that as being really important. And how I, on one end, believe that she's out there somewhere, like something out of a song. I know you're out there somewhere, but it almost hurts to know that or to believe that. And so it is a complicated thing dealing with the world of emotions and longing for our soulmate. And so, it's like walking a tightrope to put out the intention, to be open to the experience, but to acknowledge that I've gone my own way, that I'm not out there seeking, but I'm allowing it to find me when the time is right, and using the time that is available now to become as sovereign as I possibly can be. and speaking and communicating my truth and going deeper down the rabbit hole and going deeper into the catacombs of my mind to bring out this information, all that is going to help me progress forward. The sun is setting. I have already contemplated just how much is revolving around the sun, how long I've talked about the sun and solar flares, how what I'm doing now, it requires solar panels, of which I have more solar power than I've ever had before in my life. That's running my computers, that's allowing me to upload this, that's allowing me to run the dish. It's more power than I've ever had access to. So this is kind of like, it's like I'm in a freedom spaceship where I have the time and the space to really create whatever it is. And I feel like I'm going to be creating the next experience, creating the next path forward. Now, this is coming at a time, I'm just feeling the heat coming down and the sweat coming down. This is definitely a time of new experiences. I'm sure some of you are having some amazing experiences. We had 48 hours, 72 hours of back-to-back geomagnetic storms in areas where there's a lot of just things going on in the city and technology. You have electromagnetic pollution. The body's stressed. The body isn't getting enough sleep. So there may be aspects of my consciousness that may feel lonely, and then I remind myself during these periods where we're being bombarded with all this energy, I'm in a situation where I'm taking it in naturally. I'm not dealing with the unnatural magnetic fields, nor am I being exposed to a bunch of angry emotions affected by the sun in Portland. You know, people that are feeling the tension, people that are feeling the heat. And in stories that I've read about Oregon, I'm reading about the drought problem. I'm reading about overcrowding. I'm reading about overheating. People are overheating. It's getting really hot. Quite a few fish died, in fact. Actually, that can be considered quite concerning. And so it seems that I got out of Oregon just in time. I don't know how many people notice that or not. And I do pinch myself with that as well. Just the synchronicities. And noticing how much I really was affected adversely in Portland. I felt inferior as a human being homeless. I felt inferior, that my message was resented. I still feel that my message was resented, but it truly did affect me. It did not stop me. I used it as an experience consciously to make myself stronger. I talked about it during that experience. It didn't mean that I wasn't still going through the pain, but there's a reason why I kept striving. There's a reason why I would go to the gym and pump iron when most of the homeless guys there were only there to shower and get on the computer. I was trying to take care of my health and maintain a website, knowing though the whole time that people weren't helping me because they thought I was mentally ill for not having enough money or being back in the matrix workplace, going back to the rest. I'm kind of like observing society, not necessarily exactly like the Buddha in the lotus position, but the more I'm looking at what I'm going through and what I just went through, the more like in my own way, I'm playing out an archetype, whether I know it or not. And it's occurring at a certain period of my age, and it is leading somewhere, and it is full spiritual sovereignty. The returning to Portland was the closure on this door, this world of expectation, and wanting to be accepted by the people of that land, and seeing that land in a new light, and now re-embracing this home-free lifestyle, returning to this area where honestly anything can happen at any time and nobody can hear you scream for miles, but having the faith anyway in that which is beyond the stars and the moon and the sun. There is something that's allowed this whole experience to take place. Certain events, very specific things and events that happen in our lives happen for a reason, regardless of how we view those events, as positive or negative. I'm aware that some people don't believe that there's meaning behind the events in our lives. And I don't really know what it means in every single circumstance when as I have found, everything has meaning and everything has happened for a reason in my life. To the point where it is so eerie, it makes one wonder what it's really all about, why some of those very specific things have taken place. But we see evolution in a physical manner in the biological world, and we've stumbled upon a thing that there's things happening in the spiritual realm that mirror the physical realm, things in the physical realm that mirror the spiritual realm. So there is this theme that comes up over and over and over regarding spiritual evolution and viewing Earth as like a training simulation video game that is like mirroring the real world, but it's not ultimately the real world, but it's a world where we can really practice certain things and develop certain abilities and come to certain conclusions that can really, I want to go beyond typical language, raising your vibration to a certain frequency to pop out of the matrix. But that's basically where I'm going with the thought. To upgrade our own personal software, that we may be before our time, but being before our time has immense value to our soul's ability to literally jump